Hello everyone, Noctim0 here. God, do I love Castlevania. Probably the best and most long-running series about vampire hunting and vampires in general. This this series has really got me obsessed. I've had a few friends comment on that. This and the Legacy of Kain series. But I'm not here to talk about the games. I'm talking about season 2 on Netflix. The the second season picks up immediately after where the first one left off, but we're greeted with a bit of a flashback. Oh yeah, spoilers. We at least get to see what happens to Lisa Sepesh before she was brutally burnt at the stake by the church for just being a doctor, but they accused her of witchcraft. And it was nice to see what she was doing, and I even liked the character design where they made her look more like the Kojima design from Symphony of the Night. Another thing that I liked was the character development because we got 8 episodes instead of 4. We were able to get more fleshed out characters. Um, and speaking of characters, we were introduced to a bunch of new ones. Although I will say I was disappointed that, despite the fact that Dracula had a war council, they didn't talk at all. The only ones that even spoke was just Godbrand, which I love that character, and I wish there was more of him in the series. And then there was Carmella, which we'll get to her in a sec. I will say that I was really happy to see that they brought in Hector from Curse of Darkness. If you guys are familiar with Hector, he's the Devil Forge Master that at one point betrays Dracula. Now, the way they have him portrayed in this one, we get to see more of Hector's history because they never really dived into it in Curse of Darkness. Now I know the Netflix series is just an adaptation of the game, so I don't expect 100% accuracy or even play by play on how each character is supposed to be and act. It's the same thing with Isaac, which I didn't recognize him at first. Clearly, um, his design was a complete 180 over what he was, where he had red hair, pale skin, clearly into bondage. This Isaac, kind of the same way, but the only difference is that, oh, he's bald and a black guy. I find it hilarious when I read the wiki that they don't say it. They just say he's darker skin tone and bald. I'm like, can't you just admit that he's black? I mean, it's not a bad thing to say. He's a black guy. Who cares? It's actually a nice welcome change. I honestly thought that changing Isaac around a little bit was interesting. I'm actually curious though how they're going to introduce his sister. I mean, again, it's an adaptation. They may not even have her in the in any future installments. He could just be an only child in this one. Because same thing with Hector. Some things were altered from the main game, so we'll see. Another thing I did enjoy was the character development between our three heroes, especially Alucard and Trevor. They a lot of back and forth between the two of them, but I really thought it was cool. Thought it was funny how they're insulting each other, but then they'll laugh about it. And Sypha is just kind of not understanding what's going on between them. They didn't try to beat us over the head with a romance between Sypha and Trevor. That was more towards the end, and even then, it wasn't romantic heavy or anything like that. So I was really appreciative of that. I do like also how Alucard and Dracula, how they interacted once they did. It was really sad towards the end. I gotta say, it really got me in some areas, and I really felt bad for Dracula. And I'm glad that they made him more than just a one-dimensional villain that wanted to destroy humanity just for the sake of doing it. They really played their roles well. I will say about Carmella, the one thing I really was surprised about with her, the design was a little reminiscent of actually Lords of Shadow, which I did not expect that they would even pay homage to that. And they did it twice, with one being her outfit slightly. It's not heavily influenced by Lords of Shadow, but the shoulder pieces kind of made me think of that. Her face actually made me think of the mask of Carmella or whatever that they had in the older Castlevania games, where you only encounter Carmela's spirit. But still, I think the design was nice. Now, the second thing that's of note to Lords of Shadow is the castle that she resides in. If you really pay attention to it, like, she says that the castle that she now resides in, of her old master, that was actually, if you look at it, the location looks almost like the one from Lords of Shadow, for the original one. I just looked at it, I'm like, that's from Lords of Shadow right there. That is awesome. I was so excited to see that, even with the small reference. And there was more than one reference to Lords of Shadow. That was just two of them right there that I called out. The third one is the crow enemy that Trevor fights in the Belmont library, which I thought, like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that's that crow thing from in Lords of Shadow. Which I kept thinking to myself was when you're trying to scale this tower or whatever, and you fight this giant crow mother thing that has like a bone mask thing. It was the same creature, just it was much smaller than what was seen in Lords of Shadow. So they definitely wanted to pay homage to all the Castlevanias and not just the main series. There was so many things to call out, so many really cool things that they were doing, but you just got to watch the show to really see it all. I think my biggest one was the fact that they showed the portrait of Leon Belmont, and his design didn't change from Lament of Innocence. So I thought that was really cool that they kept his design basically the same, right until like down to the what is it, his Crusader uniform. They don't give too much details on Leon's history, only that he pursued Dracula, and by that alone, by saying that he was hunting Dracula, the way I saw it is that if he is truly hunting Dracula, or he was, then that means that they might be keeping true with the Matthias Kronkvist subplot, where Dracula went from by another name and was best friends with Leon. So I can't wait to see what they do in the future. Now, I don't like how it really ended per se. I thought it was fun, I thought it was cool, but I still feel like that there was just more to it that we're not seeing. And season 3, I mean, there's a number of ways they can go with it. I'm calling it right now. I think they're going to be doing Castlevania Curse of Darkness. They might do an alternate version of that storyline, though, because Castlevania Curse of Darkness was just something that they did to kind of give more backstory to, I guess, Trevor Belmont, but really to add more context to Dracula's curse, which they really did talk about. Now, for season 3, I mean, there's so many things to speculate. I'm probably going to do another video on it, but to finish off this review, the animation, I think, was much more improved. I thought the fighting and the combat, oh my god, it was just so well done. And even though, yeah, I did like it in season 1, it felt like it was too slow for me to really enjoy it. So I didn't really like how the combat was in season 1 per se, because it just, to me, there wasn't enough fast moving cells moving about or transitioning from, I don't know how to say it all because I'm not an animator. I went to school for it, but it's hard for me to put it into words. But I appreciated it more. Another thing that it was a slight gripe is the fact that we didn't get the fourth member of the group, which was Grant Dynasty, which I understand to a degree why the writer never kept him in. It was mostly because he hated the character's name, and that was it. I thought that was lame. And I think it was even more of a big FU is that they made one of the preachers from season 1 look like Grant. I mean, Grant was bald and had like this really weird looking face. And the one that I kept looking at amongst the preachers was this one bald preacher who had a really ugly looking pirate face. And he was using knives, and he got shot in the face with an arrow, and I just kept thinking they did that intentionally as a screw you to Grant Dynasty. Either way, it's a minor thing, and it wasn't like it was anything major, but still, it's a character I wish was in it, but we'll just see where the series goes from here. Season 3, anything can happen. But the only thing I'm pretty sure will not happen is they are not going to fast forward a number of years and fight Dracula again. I think they're going to stick with the Trevor Belmont side of things. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say about this review. I will have to give Castlevania like a 4 out of 5 in this particular case. Maybe 4.5 because it was really that good. Again, I had a few issues. One other notable issue is the amount of filler they put in and wasted characters. They just seemed a little too. I don't know. They threw away a bunch of them, and they didn't even use the War Council to what I was hoping. So, yeah, do with that as you will. Happy Halloween, guys. Take care.